entering a new series called Keep Waiting. And we're talking about finding God in the midst of the waiting. And I don't know about you, but sometimes waiting seems super painful, doesn't it? You're just like waiting for something to happen, or you're waiting for an answer. My favorite that I think about when it comes to waiting is a kid. As a kid, waiting for Christmas Day. Anybody remember that? The anticipation, the excitement about what you're going to get for Christmas. I have a twin sister, and we used to wake up super early on all of the holidays, but especially Christmas, and we would just like grab the presents and we'd shake them one last time. What could it be? And we'd imagine what it's going to be and how much fun we're going to have and all this kind of stuff. And that's one of the things I think about when it comes to waiting. Or maybe you're waiting for a graduation that's about to take place. And you're like, man, 3 more weeks. I got to get through this class. And I'm waiting for the finish line. Or maybe a new job that's about to start, and you're a little excited, but you're also a little anxious. Or in my family's case, our daughter's getting married next month. And we're just like in this tension of it's going by really fast and really slow all at the same time. And you just feel this waiting season that you're wondering, like, what's it going to be like, and how is this new season going to play out? Or maybe for you, it's something more serious. You got a call from the doctor, and they said you need to come in, and the waiting is killing you. Or you're waiting for an answer to a relationship that you've been trying to mend for years. Maybe you're in a season of waiting, and that's why you're here, and you're wondering, like, where is God in the waiting? And that's what we're here to talk about. In fact, if you are new here, man, we just, like I said earlier, want to thank you for being here. This is a place where everyone is welcome, and where we just encourage people that are exploring faith to say, hey, I'm here, and we hope that God speaks to you, and we'd love to connect with you after service. Maybe you've been a follower of Jesus for a long time, and you're tired, and you're worn out, and you feel like you've been waiting, and you just don't get the answers. So through this series, I want to talk about this tension, because there's something uniquely difficult about the space between asking and answering, right? God, would you? And God, why haven't you sometimes? And in that in-between season, you're trying to do the right things. You're trying to be faithful. You're showing up, you're praying, but you feel like, God, I just am not getting the answer. Or maybe you feel like, God, one day I feel like the answer is this direction, and the other day it's this direction, and just help me, give me a very clear answer. And if we're honest, waiting can be one of the most spiritually confusing experiences. Because when we wait, we start asking questions like, did I hear God right? Or maybe I heard him wrong. Or am I being punished because I keep waiting and I don't have an answer? Or did God forget? Does God care? Is he near? It's real, isn't it? I've had seasons of waiting in my life where I'm like, God, I just want an answer. I'm willing to do whatever you desire me to do, as long as it's not waiting, because it's so hard. And one of the things that I love about the Bible is there's this idea a lot of times when it comes to the Bible that if you haven't read it before, or if you're not super familiar with it, you're like, man, all these perfect people living these perfect lives, and they don't struggle with anything. But when you really jump into the Bible, you see that it's full of very real people who struggle, and people who ask, God, where are you? Where are you in the waiting? And so that's what we're going to jump in today, and we're going to look at Isaiah chapter 40. If you have your Bibles, if you have YouVersion on your phone, it's an incredible way to follow along, or we'll have the slides on the screen as well. But one of the things that we're going to look at today is God is working while we're waiting. That God is working while we're waiting, that it might feel like there's an absence, but God's right there. And like I said, I know how hard it is to wait. Waiting in traffic, horrible. When I drove up to Ventura this weekend, I had to go through LA on a Friday. Bad decisions were made. Because what sometimes is about 2 hours and 45 minutes, took me about 5.5 hours. And I just found myself waiting, going, man, I'd rather be crawling on some residential road than going so slow and waiting. Waiting in lines, waiting for food, waiting for an email back, and we especially, right, hate waiting on God. Because we're saying, God, I want to follow you. I want to do your will in my life, but I need direction. For some of us, like I said, we're waiting for restoration. For some of us, our marriages, we feel stuck and we're like, God, I want you to restore this and I'm not sure how it's going to work out, and we're waiting. Or your family's strained and you're asking God to do something. Anxiety shows up. Depression lingers. And the fear still knocks in the waiting. And if you've been there, you know the question that rises up in many of our lives. In the waiting, sometimes we ask, God, where are you? God, where are you? And what makes it even harder is waiting has a way of making us feel like we're behind. Anybody else? Like you're waiting and you're looking around and you're like, man, everybody else seems to have a direction. Everybody else seems to know what they're doing. Everybody else seems to be getting answers. They're blessed. They're advancing, whatever it is. And I'm just stuck here waiting. Just me. And if you feel stuck in this holding pattern where life feels paused, sometimes you're like, God, I'm not sure. Have you forgotten me? And many times God is saying, no, I haven't forgotten you. But it's not time yet. God is saying, listen, I want you to continue to trust me in the waiting. So like I said, we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 40. And in Isaiah, man, the Israelites were in a season where they had been waiting for a very long time. And they are going through this season of struggle of, God, have you forgotten us? God, where are you? God, well, how is this going to work out? And Isaiah, who the book is named after, is a prophet, and he preached during a time, get this, I know none of us will resonate with this at all. He was preaching and giving prophecy during a time of political instability, spiritual compromise, and looming threats from foreign empires like Assyria. Can't resonate at all, right? And here's the thing, Isaiah calls God's people to repentance, to trust, and to faithfulness. In the midst of all of these looming fears and anxieties, Isaiah is saying, trust in the Lord. He confronts, but he also overflows with hope, revealing God as holy and faithful to save, that he is a place where we can put our trust. Isaiah speaks both a warning to the people of don't get distracted, don't focus on all of the noise and maybe in our day and age, all the news and all the stuff going on. Instead, trust in the Messiah, trust in the Lord. Trust in God, the ultimate restoration of God's people. And like I said, this chapter is written during a season where, man, they are just waiting. They're weary and they're discouraged. They're in exile, they're oppressed, and they at times are asking, God, where are you? So Isaiah chapter 40 is kind of a conversation going back and forth between God's people and God. Listen to what Isaiah says in verse 27, chapter 40. He says, why do you complain, Jacob? This is God. Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord? My cause is disregarded by my God. Isn't that an honest prayer? Isn't that a prayer that maybe in some form, you might not say it exactly the same way, but that you're like, listen, is my way hidden from you, Lord? Are you not seeing me? Is my cause disregarded by you? Like, God, where are you? And God's saying, listen, Israel, listen, Jacob, I know you might be asking this, and some of you are like, Jacob and Israel, help me understand, I don't get it. Those are two names referring to the same people. God's covenant nation and God's people. He uses both names to speak to both sides of their identity. Jacob reminds them of their human weakness and struggle. Israel reminds them that they belong to God by covenant and calling. And so he's speaking both to their human and their covenant nature with the Lord. And they're saying, God, we feel unseen, overlooked. And if we're honest, at times we wonder if you care. God responds in Isaiah 40:28, do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. I love how he starts this response. And I think for us, for many of us, we need to remember in our times of struggle and in our times of questioning that God says, listen, do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God. He is the beginning and he is the end. The fancy way to say it is the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning of the Greek alphabet and he's the end of the Greek alphabet. That's what Alpha and Omega means. And he's everything in between. He is the creator of the ends of the earth. In other words, he is God, he is creator, and we can trust in him. He does not grow tired or weary. His understanding no one can fathom. You might be tired, but he's not. You might be confused, but he's not. You might be worn down, but God's saying, not me. Because his understanding is beyond anything that we can fathom. Then Isaiah continues, it says, he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. And that's good news right there for us. Because it doesn't say God gives strength to the strong. He doesn't say like, man, you're doing really good. I'm just going to make you stronger and stronger and stronger. It says that he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. His goodness is made perfect in our weaknesses. Because many times it's in our weakness that we say, God, I just can't anymore. I trust you. I give it all to you. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to navigate it. I don't know what to do with it anymore. Lord, I trust in you. And weakness is the place where grace becomes most visible, isn't it? You've experienced this. At a low moment or a moment where you're struggling and you just cry out to God and he answers, and it's so good and it's so sweet. And then Isaiah says something that it's almost humorous because it's so honest. He says, even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. He's like, look, even the best of the best, you get tired at some point. You stumble and fall at some point. The translation is, even people who should have the most energy, by the way, I'm jealous of you, still hit a wall, and they struggle. The strong will break down. The capable will reach the end of their capabilities. And the I can handle it people will eventually realize I can't handle this. But then we get to the promise. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Super popular verse in the Bible. Some of you have it on your walls in your homes. Some of you claim that promise. Because who wouldn't want those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength? Because we want the strength, but don't forget the wait. That it's in waiting, it's in trusting him in the midst of the struggle that we will renew our strength. The word renew in Hebrew carries the idea of exchanging or replacing. God is saying, you bring me your weakness, and I will exchange it with trust. I will exchange it with promise. I will replace it with endurance. You bring me your fear, and I will exchange it for my peace. But again, the key is those who wait on the Lord. And this is, for many of us, where we need insight, right? You're like, okay, I want the exchange part. I want the peace and the promise and all this stuff, but the wait is hard. And in Hebrew, the word translated wait is the word kavah. And kavah is not a lazy word. I love, honestly, I'm not great at languages, But I love looking into, and thankfully I have commentaries and all these books that help me understand and explain it. But I love this word kavah because it's not a lazy word. Because sometimes our waiting can be lazy, can't it? I'm waiting around in the sofa. Let me tell you, I had a long weekend. I got in late last night, and I woke up early this morning. I'm going to have a lazy waiting for the evening this afternoon. But it doesn't mean sitting around with our arms crossed. No, kavah means to wait with hope and expectation. It's not a lazy word. It's a word that is filling the waiting with trust, with hope, with expectation. And one of the clearest pictures is this twisting of strands together to make a rope. I'm waiting expectantly. It's the picture of someone who says, God, I don't know what's next, but I'm tying my trust to you. I'm braiding my life with you, Lord, and I'm trusting in you, and it is making me strong, and it is an active hope and expectation. God, I don't see the outcome, but I'm anchoring my hope to you. I'm binding myself to you and my character. So, in this, get this, waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is rope-making time. It's intertwining our lives with Him. It's trusting in Him more. It's God strengthening what will hold our lives together when we're pulled by the turbulence of life. So in Isaiah, waiting is not passive, it's active dependence on God. It changes the way we see waiting, doesn't it? Because no longer do I say, God, I'm asking that you provide a way in this situation, and then we walk over and sit down on the lazy boy and turn on the Padres. I was joking with some of our people about this today. Some of you have been praying, and you're still waiting for the Padres to do better. And you get so excited, and then it happens like partway through the season. And listen, I'm not throwing any shade. I'm an Oregon fan, okay? But it changes that waiting. It turns it into an active thing. Something is happening. It's binding us to the Lord. It's building our strength and our trust. It's shaping our heart, saying, God, in the waiting, I'm weaving my life with your word, with your hope, with your trust. And it's making us stronger. So God works while we wait. And Isaiah gives us a picture of how God works in the waiting. First, God works in the waiting by renewing our strength. Not by removing the problem, but by sustaining us through it. And isn't that, at the end of the day, what we really want? Because we know in this life we will have troubles. We're promised that. But God says, listen, I will be with you in the waiting. I'm going to tell you, our family has had to go through some hard seasons in our lives. My son had something called intussusception when he was a very young child. And it's basically when part of your intestines collapses on itself. And he was an infant and he couldn't talk. All we knew is he was screaming in pain. And it was super confusing. It was super scary. And it made for the fastest trip I've ever driven to the hospital. And I'm going to tell you, the waiting was horrific. Because at one point, they took my son and my wife back, but I had to stay. The difference between waiting all by myself and waiting with someone else who cared for me was tremendous. Some of you experienced this, right? And this is a reminder that the Lord is with us in our waiting and that He renews our strength. Number two, God works in the waiting by lifting our perspective. This is this idea of they shall mount up with wings like eagles. Eagles don't escape the storm, they rise above it. And if you've ever seen an eagle just soaring on, in the air, and you know that, I don't know all the technical terms, but like you see them it's like they're floating. Because there's like all these updrafts and they're just floating there. And I love that idea of God sustaining us and lifting our perspective as he lifts us. We rise like wings of the eagles. We catch the wind currents and we see from a higher place. And there's something about seeing from a higher place too, isn't there? I see how this is going to play out. I see further down the road. It's one of the things I love about Proverbs. I talk about this from time to time. If you are new to reading the Bible, or you're like looking for wisdom and insight in your life, and what's something that's going to guide and help me in my life, man, read Proverbs. Proverbs is literally called wisdom literature, and there's 31 Proverbs. And so literally you can go through and say, hey, today's the 19th. I'm going to read Proverbs 19. Tomorrow you can read Proverbs 20. But you go through this and it just gives us this wisdom. And when I was in college and I started getting really serious about my faith, I started reading through the Proverbs. And one of the things that happened is I felt like I could see further down the road. I felt like in reading God's word, suddenly I was like, oh, this is going to come my way. I'm going to have to navigate this. And I was able, in that higher elevated place, to say, God, I choose to trust you as it comes, because it lifts my perspective. It also gives us endurance. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. That's important because not every season is an eagle season, right? Not every season is floating on the currents of the updrafts and it's just all easy. There are seasons where we're trudging through the mud trying to make it to tomorrow. Any runners in the room? Do we have any runners? We might have a couple. I know that you are going to be like, there's no way. But I ran 3 half marathons back in the day. And I remember, no woohoo, it was horrible. My wife has run, I don't know how many marathons. And I remember hearing about this thing called the runner's high. And I was like, that's just some evil, thing that they sell you that someday it's going to be good. And you just never get there. But I remember when I was training and I was running one day, I was sitting there and suddenly as I'm jogging, and jogging is more the appropriate word than running because I was super slow. But I remember going, I think I could just keep doing this forever. And I was like, oh, that's the runner's high. That's what they were talking about. Because literally in there, I was like, man, I can just keep going and keep going. And I went way further than I'd planned on going that day. And that's what I think about when it says they will run and not grow weary. That we receive the strength from the Lord. And we can trust in him even through the long miles. And church, this is the truth. God may not speed up your timeline, but he will strengthen your soul in the waiting. He will strengthen your soul in the miles between the prayer and the answer. So what do we do this? How do we navigate our relationship with God in the waiting? It's a season for us to surrender. It's a season for us to say, God, I lay this before you. Because what Isaiah 40 is really challenging is not our schedule, it's our posture. It's our posture before the Lord. Instead of the anxiousness and the doubt and the worry, it's simply trusting and surrendering. Isaiah 40 is really challenging this idea that for many of us, we need to make a shift. For some of us, we need to shift from control to trust. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard for me. I love, if I see things going out of whack, if I see something not happening, I'll go over and I'll be like, hey, this is how this needs to look, or this is how this needs to work. And I do that with my life as well. God, don't you know that this isn't the way that I had planned on these things going? God, don't you know that this isn't the answer that I want? Or God, don't you know that like there's all of these things going on in my life? And I could really use some peace. And the famous lyrics, Jesus, take the wheel. But we have ourselves white-knuckling the wheel the entire time. And God's saying, let go. But don't just let go and sit back and say, all right, whatever. But actively braid your life with the Lord. That could sound kind of odd or awkward. But what that means is in the waiting, saying, God, I trust you. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to actively trust you. And God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know you will work it out. God, as I look back on my life and through the timeline of things that I've navigated, God, you've never failed me. You've always come through, so I know that I can trust you. And that we understand that waiting isn't a punishment. Waiting is an invitation to trust him. The other shift we have to do is we have to shift from panic to expectancy. Oh my gosh, how's it gonna, I'm freaking out, I don't know. To exactly what we talked about. God, I know that you will make a way where there seems to be no way. God, I know you will work all things to the good. God, I have hidden your word in my heart so that I might not sin against you. And not just not sin against you, but in the midst of my struggle, in the midst of the trial, in the midst of what I might desire to panic, I'm just going to expect you to show up. And you've done it time and time again. So I know that I can believe in you. I know that I can expect. And I have this new identity of biblical waiting, of kavah, of hopeful waiting, expectant waiting. God, you are going to show up, and you are faithful. The kind of waiting that says, God, I am binding my waiting to your faithfulness. I don't know how you do it, but I know you'll take care of it. And this is where the Spirit begins to challenge us. The Holy Spirit, it gives us wisdom and counseling and guidance, says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him. And what does it say? And he will make your path straight. That we can trust him. So, what does God want to form in you right now? See, I believe that the Bible is not just something that we read and we say, oh, that's a good idea, but it's a good rule for our living. That how can we live more like Christ? So what does God want to form in you right now? He might be forming patience, humility, wisdom, joy. There's some things called the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. What does God want to form in you right now? And I just think, what if God cares more about who you're becoming than what you receive? Because the receiving is cool and the receiving is great. And it's great for me to be more joyful. It's great for me to be more patient. It's great for us to have some of these things. But listen, I think God cares more about who we're becoming than the gifts that we're seeking. Because God often does his greatest work in the unclear. Man, it's why I love James chapter 1. But it's so hard at the same time because it says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. Because the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and perseverance, maturity, so that you may be full and complete, not lacking in anything. And I find myself going like, that's a great verse, but man, it is hard to walk out. So I will kavah. I will trust the Lord in the waiting. And I will intertwine my life and my struggles and my questions and my habits and my hang-ups with his faithfulness. It's where faith becomes real. It's where we see seas parted. It's where we see the dead raised to life. It's where we see hope break through in what we thought was a hopeless life. So maybe we start praying this week, instead of saying, God, give me the answer, we'd say, God, give me the strength. Instead of saying, God, help me know how this is all going to work out, and we begin praying, God, would you just help me to trust you through the journey? Would you just help me to intertwine my life with you so that even in the midst of what feels like a roller coaster, in 1 second, my hands are up in the air, and the other second, I'm like, God, please get me off of this thing. That we continue to trust in him. And some of you need to hear this today. You're not forgotten. You are not wasting your life, and you are not wasting your prayers. If you are waiting on the Lord, that's exactly where God can renew, redeem, and restore you. So here's the invitation today. Keep waiting, keep trusting, keep praying, keep showing up, keep believing, because while you wait, God is working. And as we intertwine our lives with him, we find hope, we find trust, and we find strength from him. Because remember, the promise isn't that he removes the waiting. The promise is that God renews us while we're waiting. And that is good news. So today, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate that space in between the waiting and for when the Lord finally comes one day. We're going to celebrate communion, which we do every single week, because we're reminded that God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. That in the waiting for the Lord between the cross and rising from the grave, that he trusted in God. And as he sacrificed his life for us, that we too can trust in him. So